because she told me she lives in Ethiopia. Okay, now go ahead.
God is merciful on YouTube. What can I do if my husband refuses to sign the I-130 for my daughter who's 18 years old? I just submitted my adjustment of status application recently, but my husband refused to sign for my daughter.
Well, you can't force anybody to sign. So if that's the case, let's go a different route. Do a SIJ, Special Immigrant Juvenile. You go into family court, you get guardianship of your child, get a special ruling that the child is not in your child's best interest to be reunited with the father because of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. Hopefully it's one of those three. Hopefully you can prove that. And if that's the case, you would get a special ruling, and then the daughter would be able to file a SIJ on her own.
And Cashery, I filed VAWA in August. I did my biometric in October. When will I hear about my CO9 EAD?
If you filed an adjustment in August, you'll hear about 6 months from there. So September, October, November, December, January, February.
Resilio on Facebook. I filed my VAWA and I-485 on July 9th, 2018. On June 12th, 2020, my VAWA was approved and my I-485 transferred to NVC. How long will it take to issue my green card? It's been 7 months, no appointment.
At least a year.
Shine Williams, if someone just goes from a 2-year green card to their 10-year green card this year, I have a 17-year-old child that will turn 18 in March of 2021. If they file for citizenship now, will that child automatically become a citizen?
When does the child turn 21?
I have a 17-year-old child. They will turn 18. They're just turning 18 this coming March.
I doubt they're going to be a citizen because it's not based on the time that you file your citizenship. It's based on the time you swear in. And if you file your citizenship at this very moment, I doubt you'll be a citizen by March. So your child will already be over 18 at that point. So your child would then have to file separately for citizenship when he or she becomes eligible.
All right. Anne Marie Anderson on YouTube. Can a green card holder file for a minor child who's out of status?
Of course.
Shanhal Pathak, I have an expunged misdemeanor for battery, no jail time. How will this impact my immigration?
You have a conviction. Just because it's expunged doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So you have a conviction that may make you inadmissible. A battery is assault. So if you have an assault where you were sentenced to more than a year in jail, even if it was time served, that's an aggravated felony. If you have an assault and you spent less than 6 months in jail and it was a misdemeanor, then that could be a crime of moral turpitude. You still have to prove good moral character. So there's a whole bunch of scenarios, but expungement means that you were convicted of a crime, and after you did all your time and sentences and everything, you went back and asked the judge to take it off your record. But just because it's taken off your record doesn't mean it didn't happen and it's not a conviction for immigration purposes. That is different than vacating a conviction. Vacating a conviction means after you pled guilty and were sentenced, you go back to the judge and you say, my rights were violated. Had my rights not been violated, I would not have gotten this conviction. And then it wouldn't exist on your record and it wouldn't count for immigration. But an expungement means you just ask them, just take this off my record. I don't want anyone to see it, but immigration's still going to see it. And you did plead guilty and you were sentenced, and that's a definition of a crime. And they're going to use it against you.
Okay, Jackie Harris, with the joint sponsor for AOS, USCIS says you cannot apply for benefits. Is that enforced? Also, does applying for a financial aid for college count against that?
You can't apply for financial aid until you get a green card. They won't give it to you. And as far as government benefits, unless you have a prima facie as a VAWA, you have to prove that you're going to be able to support yourself 125% above the poverty guidelines. So you can apply for any benefits that you may qualify for, except if in order to qualify for it, you have to show you're in poverty, because then you would be admitting you can't support yourself, which is how people get denied when they get SNAP or when they get Section 8 or things like that.
Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.